Hey, listen to Wrestling Roundup on FreeFM, ArrowFM, and MP. As always, I'm Grady and live on Skype. We got Josh.
Hey,
We got a big show this week coming up this weekend. We got Clash at the Castle, Scotland, so we're going to be previewing that event. And we also had NXT Battleground last weekend, so there is lots to get to. Just going to crack straight on into it. Heading to Scotland, let's talk about the Intercontinental Championship. We've been building it quite a lot. It is Sami Zayn, it is Chad Gable, and we are at boiling point.
yep, I think we're at the moment. Uh, Obviously the rumors are that Chad re-signed, so we're moving on with that. Um, I think this is the moment for Chad. He wins the title. Sammy got a good couple months. Chad gets his moment, and we get closer and closer to Otis snapping. We're not quite there, but we're almost there. But we also, I think, we get the Creed brothers. I think I think during this match, Chad will try to get Otis to cheat for him. Otis just can't do it. And while the referee, there will probably be a wild referee bump that'll take the referee out for a few minutes. And out will come the Creed brothers. They'll beat the poop out of Sami Zayn, and Chad Gable will pin him and win the title. And the Creed brothers will do what Otis couldn't and deliver Chad the champ.
It is the most likely outcome, right? Like, it's the story that has been laid in front of us. Sami Zayn's run's been good, as you say. Chad Gable's been built from what was essentially a mid card at best, has been just built and built and built and built. Um, couldn't get the job done with Gunther. Will probably get the job done here and capture the Intercontinental Championship. As you say, Gable Otis is going to be a feud going forward. We're milliseconds away from that. I think we're, finger on the trigger, ready with Gable and Otis, and with Maxine as well. She's playing quite a part in this. Um, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens if it is going to be anything off of what we expect. But what we expect is a pretty paint by numbers storytelling aspect, and frees Sami Zayn up to go and do his next thing.
Yeah, I think, I think we're looking at SummerSlam Chad Gable versus Otis. I think that's what we're going to be looking at, with Chad Gable having obviously the new Alpha Academy in the Creed brothers in his corner, and the old being in Otis's corner. Um, Honestly, I love the idea of Chad Gable winning the championship. I would love him to have a long reign. I don't think he will. I think, and I think part of it is just because he's getting over as a heel. I think they can move him up the card, giving him his moment with the Intercontinental title just to give him that, and then move him up and make Otis a mega babyface through this. Maybe get him back to where he was when he was with Mandy.
Yeah, I think it would be an interesting one if you are going to book Chad Gable Otis, especially going into something like SummerSlam. It's really hard to not give Otis the win, right? Like if Chad Gable wins, then it is just the abuser guy who's picked on Otis for months, just coming out on top. You know,
Yeah, what I could see is maybe they doing like they screw Otis in the first round at SummerSlam, and they like do a couple more matches, and Otis keeps fighting. He keeps biting at it, kind of like Chad, the way Chad did with Gunther. But some sort of interference or something always happens until we get to like I don't want to I can't say the name.
some pay per view down the
Man,
line later in the
yeah,
year.
some pay-per-view down the line in another country that isn't mentioned. They have like a steel cage match or something like that allows Otis to finally get Chad, and he comes out on top with the title.
And we all cheer.
Yep.
Well, also at Clash at the Castle, Scotland, we have a triple threat tag team match for our WWE Women's Tag Team Championships. The undefeatable champions, Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill, defending them against both Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark, and the Scottish duo of Alba Fire and Isla Dawn.
Eh, this is the most that they've done with the Unholy Union. I don't like that team name, but that's apparently their tag team name. Um, Shayna Baszler just absolutely laid an egg recently, and I don't see her winning titles with Zoe. Um, it comes down to if they want to do a moment for the Scottish ladies and the crowd, or if we're just going to keep rocking with our undefeatable champions, like you called them. And I think they just keep rocking with their undefeatable champions.
There's quite a lot of Scottish representation across the card with Drew, Piper, Fire, and Dawn. And unfortunately, there might not be a whole lot of Scottish win with, you got four superstars going into it, and I don't think it's four walking out with wins. But yeah, Belair and Cargill was such a strong tag team that it's going to take a certain couple of people or a certain set of circumstances to rip the belts off them. I don't think we're going to explode the mega powers just yet. We have only just picked up the championships. I think there's still steam in their run
Yeah,
if we
yeah.
are
As
going to
long as
sort of
they
push it
hold
to
the
WrestleMania.
titles, it makes the titles more important.
Mm.
Because Bianca is a main eventer, and Jade Cargill just has that look about her. Obviously, this is just a stopgap. It's to give her experience and not put her in a much more dangerous position for her stock with the crowd. But I do think I don't much like I think maybe Chad wouldn't have a long Intercontinental reign. I don't think they will either. I think by SummerSlam or slightly after, I think is when we'll see the explosion of the tag team. Um, it possibly could happen as soon as Money in the Bank. Um, but because I could honestly see them being one of the quote unquote main events of SummerSlam in a match between the two of them. Um, but I don't know. It is definitely a lot. There's a lot of moving cogs in this division. It's the division that shouldn't really exist, but it does. Um, but yeah, we'll have to see. Probably will just be Bianca and Cargill winning this match.
I think the division. So see if they eventually follow suit with the NXT brand, where NXT introduced a secondary women's championship. I still maintain that I think that would have done a little bit better than a women's tag team championship, but
Yeah,
we are in the
yeah.
situation we're in.
But unfortunately, at the time they introduced them, everybody was clamoring for tag team titles. So they gave us what fans wanted. It, but I think personally, I think when Piper got injured as part of the tag team reign with Chelsea, I think they should have had Chelsea become delusional and defend the title on her own and turn it into a mid card championship. Um, and I think that would have worked a lot better to transition it over than just introducing new titles. But
We are where we are. And talking about Piper Niven and Chelsea Green, there is a women's WWE Women's Championship match. Bailey will be defending against Piper Niven with Chelsea Green in her corner.
this should be a fun match. It's one of those. Yeah, the challenger has no chance in this match,
Another
but it
loss
should
for
be
the Scots.
yeah, but it should be very fun. Um, it's also a basically a preview for SummerSlam because Piper is very similar to what will be Bailey's opponent at SummerSlam, Nia Jax. Um, I look forward to seeing what Chelsea can do um, as a cheerleader for Piper. I don't. I think she gets involved and gets thrown out. To be honest, I think it'll be fun, and I think at the end of the day, I think it'll just be another win for Bailey, and we'll continue to say that Bailey's reign is not that good.
It has been a little bit of a rough one. And I'm hoping she can put a banger on here with Piper. And if she makes it to SummerSlam, Nia Jax has also been putting on pretty good matches. I think we've just struggled to build great stories. I think Bayley breaking away from Damage Control and that heading into WrestleMania was a really massive high point in the story of Bayley. And then she won the title, and then we all looked around and asked, "What now?" And nobody
Yeah,
quite had an answer.
yeah. Unfortunately, Bailey, as you said, Bailey had an amazing story going into WrestleMania with the whole Damage Control stuff. But for some reason, as a face, they have no clue on how to book her as a champion. That was part of the problem with Bailey's first run as a babyface, was that whenever they gave her a title, they'd completely forget how to book her. And then they turned her heel and she became the hottest thing in the women's division for 3 years. Then got injured, came back with Damage Control, and ran that for 2 years.
I think step one is having credible heel challenges that you can build a story with. Um, and unfortunately, that division isn't the strongest, or that side of the division isn't the strongest right now. And our best shot with Nia Jax is being stalled off until SummerSlam.
Yeah,
So we can't
yeah,
really do a whole lot.
yeah, and unfortunately, a lot of the other individuals that could be placed in it are injured. Like for example, Charlotte Flair. Or we don't know if they're going to be in the company anymore because Becky is always an option. With Becky versus Bailey would be a phenomenal match. Um, it, at the point in which Becky left, it wouldn't have made any sense because of alignments, but you could always turn her heel and do well. Um, but yeah, it's just unfortunate. Bailey's amazing. She's great. She elevates everybody she works with, but unfortunately, she's just as a champion, as a face, she just doesn't get the same kind of love that she gives to everybody else.
She elevated Io Sky so much that she elevated her all the way to Japan, as she's going to have a match with in Marigold over there. So, bit of a lone around at the moment, and I'm sure when we talk about NXT Battleground, we'll talk about crossing over with TNA. Quite a bit of bouncing around for the WWE superstars at the moment. Thought I'd throw that one on in there before we talk about the undisputed WWE Championship. Cody Rhodes, AJ Styles, we said they needed a stipulation. Well, we got one.
Yep. Uh, and I'm all for it. This should be a brutal match. Um, I'm going to say it's probably be 30 minutes. Um, again, it's another situation where I don't think the challenger has any chance of winning, but I but I think it should be fun. I think it'll be brutal. I think it'll bring out some of the best of Cody as champion, and I think it'll be one of those things that we'll look back on for AJ as one of AJ's final moments. In We don't know how much longer he's going to last. He's going to stay in WWE if he really is thinking of retiring, um, and that the blue salmon suit knockoff was actually code for I really am thinking of this. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think it should be fun. I think at the end of the day, AJ Styles screams I quit.
I think that is kind of like the only outcome. I don't see Cody Rhodes' title changing hands here. Um, yeah. And yeah, should be a banger, as you say. Should be a good match. Another notch in the belt, right? Let's go into our entrance theme this week before we talk about the main event. Ricochet is the entrance theme, as it sounds like he might be on his way out. And in the storyline, he's going to be spending a while recovering at a local medical facility anyway, right?
Yeah, it definitely rumors picked up that he's given his notice and that last night was his farewell. I'm not so sure about that, but I wouldn't be surprised. But I think there's more evidence possibly that he may still be in the company. and may come back. Because they made a point of putting um, his fiance, Samantha, in the ambulance with him. So it's possible they could bring him back in like a couple months, do something with Braun, and make Ricochet more important than he's ever been in the company. Because you would have an emotional attachment to him because he's coming back to for the honor of his woman.
We'll have to see what happens with Ricochet, but one thing I do know is that his entrance theme is playing right now.
One and only.
And you're back to Wrestling Roundup on FreeFM, ArrowFM, and NPR. I'm Grady, he's Josh. Our final match on Clash at the Castle, World Heavyweight Championship on the line. Damian Priest defending against the hometown Drew McIntyre, thanks to a win on Raw. The Judgment Day specifically are barred from ringside.
I've been flipping a coin multiple times trying to figure this match out. I have a bad feeling for Scotland that none of their opponent people are going to win in a match.
0 for 4.
Yeah. Actually, I think this one might be the least likely of the three
Oh no.
because I think CM Punk gets in. See, it does say the Judgment Day in particular. Dominic Mysterio, Finn Balor, and JD McDonough are banned. It doesn't mention Liv. It doesn't mention CM Punk. I think CM Punk gets involved and cost Drew the match. The setup Survivor Series. So maybe backing up a little bit, there's a possibility that our tag team championships might change hands. To the Scottish people, assuming they actually work because of the unfortunate news that came out today for Alba.
Yeah, it could be a really rough night for the Scottish people. But as you say, yes, obviously our thoughts with Alba if she can make it to the event. Hopefully she can, and yeah, at least put on a banger match. But yeah, I'm with you in terms of the main event. I think CM Punk makes himself known. Um, I when I look at SummerSlam and I think about what matches are going to be there, my mind goes to Drew McIntyre versus CM Punk, and Gunther is guaranteed his World Heavyweight Championship match. So you can't have those things if the title is tied up within Drew Punk. So that leaves me to Drew Punk and Gunther Priest. And yeah, that spells disaster for Drew McIntyre at Clash.
Yeah, but there's always a possibility that the Money in the Bank briefcase is in the play before then takes it off a Priest. But yeah, I just think it's a case that I think Priest is not ready to lose the title yet. I think he still needs to fully turn face and get away from Judgment Day, which I think I do think there'll probably be like the the stable is banned, but they still somehow come out during the match at some point and get
Oops.
involved. And that'll piss off Priest because he wants to try to do this on his own. Um, and but yeah, as laid out, I believe Priest retains because of CM Punk to set up CM Punk versus Drew. Because as you said, Gunther's already locked in for a world title match against whoever the champion is.
And talking about champions holding on to their championships, NXT Battleground. Just talking about that for now. Few minutes we got left. Running the results quickly. Kalani Jordan came out on top of the ladder match, becoming the first ever NXT Women's North American Champion. Nathan Frazier and Axiom retained their tag titles against the OC. Obafemi retained his North American Championship against Wesley and Joe Coffey. Roxanne Perez retained her championship against Jordan Grace. Trick Williams retained his championship against Ethan Page. And Lola Vice also beat Shayna Baszler on NXT Underground, but that wasn't a title match and it didn't fit the theme.
Um, I will say I was a little shocked when I heard Kalani won, but it definitely looks like they're trying to build her up. They're trying to give her more promo time because her weakest skill is her promos. Um, and maybe they just weren't ready for Lash Legend as a champion yet. Um, yeah, it's one of those cases where it's like, I guess we'll see how it plays out. Um,
I potentially thought that Kalani Jordan was going to be the plucky face who was going to chase potentially a heel women's North American champion. So seeing her pick up the title first will be an interesting one of how they start to play it off. Obviously, you got Roxanne Perez holding the main championship, and her challenges coming out after she successfully defended against Jordan Grace.
yeah, definitely was not a clean. It was not a clear-cut win. It was definitely a kind of fluky win, which protects Jordan Grace um, because having her be straight beat up by Perez is not a good look if you're trying to promote TNA in any sort of way. Um, I could still see, honestly, I think we run that match back on Friday. Um, but for TNA in their special, I think it's No Surrender or Hard to Kill or something. Um, but it's a a weekly special thing, like the way NXT will sometimes have a named pay per view type name for their Tuesday show. Um, but yeah, I think because Grace has laid out an open challenge for her title on that event. I could see Roxanne Perez stepping through the prohibited portal and challenging for the TNA Knockouts Championship and losing, and then they'll be in 1-1 and maybe having a winner takes all match at some point down the road.
Yeah, I think I double checked it's against all odds. Um,
Yeah.
you've got so many options with this door open. Obviously, we had the interference at the end of the match, which does um, open up like everybody who was involved in that interference. The former Dana Brooke included as potential next challenges for Jordan Grace's title. But I do think that her open challenge will be answered by a crossover from NXT. Is it Roxanne? I don't know. But I do think it will be someone crossing over, probably give Jordan the win. And then it's sort of, a win on her home turf kind of thing. I don't know. I don't quite know who will answer it, but my eyes will be figuratively locked to my screen looking who answers it this weekend. Or this week, sorry.
Yeah, I really believe it'll be Roxanne. I I think because part of it is I think because I think Roxanne realizes how fluky her win was, and she'll want to try to become the first person to hold both the TNA and NXT championships. Um, she'll and I think she just maybe taking some of what CM Punk said to heart a little bit, and because they had a segment on uh, like an interview thing where he basically told her, "Don't worry about what people are talking about you and stuff and things like that." And Roxanne called him a hypocrite, which I props for her because that technically she's right. Um, but I just think it'll be a way of giving her Grace her win back um, on an important event. It's not quite a pay per view, but still pretty close. And then we'll see where they go from here with the prohibited portal stuff.
Yeah, because we're running out of time, so I'll just mention it in passing. Trick Williams' next number one contender will be decided in a 25-person over-the-top battle royal with participants from quote-unquote other locker rooms. So Definitely expect to see some TNA stars showing up next week, or whenever that battle royal is. I haven't double checked. Vying for Trick Williams' title too.
Yep. It would be pretty cool to see, um, like Moose show up, or maybe even the prestigious one, Joe Hendry, show up, which
What
is
about a
big.
Nick Nemeth or a broken Matt Hardy?
Um, I'll plead the fifth.
That's fair. You just want to see Joe Hendry. He's pretty much locked, okay? You'll get to see him. Just wait. You already made me play his entrance music. Alrighty, well, we are out of time to talk about Joe Hendry for this week, luckily. It's been great talking to you.
Bye, B.
You can visit our Facebook page, facebook.com/wrestling R&D up, our Twitter page, twitter.com/wrestling R&D up, our YouTube page, youtube.com/wrestling RND up, and we will see you next week with the results from Clash at the Castle.